Hi, everyone. I am Nicholas Giusti. Today, I am very, very happy to have my friend, my Pavarotti, my Verban Pavarottino. Pavarotti is a Joshua Collier. Is a very, very good guy, very good friend, and I am very happy to have you, Joshua.
Thank you. Grazie, amico.
For your curriculum, your CV, on my website, I will put your information in my website. Okay.
Cool.
Uh, I am happy too because Joshua understands very well Italian, and sometimes when I am in trouble, he can help me in somewhere. Okay. Joshua, today we have a meeting because I need to introduce you one important section in Operissimae is the 10 question of Operissimae. Uh, 10 question, I don't know why, but 10 question is one number. Maybe it's it's one number who we can manage in 30, 40 minutes maximum. Yeah. Yeah, it's not too long. Okay. First
It's hard
question.
for me to only talk that little, though.
Yes.
That's
Yeah, just uh, yeah, grandi linee in
yeah, lo so.
italiano, no? In Italiano, grandi linee, just in general,
In
okay?
general, yeah.
Okay. First question, George. What is the first thing you think a young student singer should do?
I think that a young singer who is wanting to go into opera or singing in general needs to fall in love with opera. They need to listen. They need to understand the tradition. And I think if you open your ears to operas in languages that you're not familiar with, in modalities that you're not familiar with, as a young singer, maybe before the voice is ready for it, um, your ears will become accustomed to it. So when the voice arrives, it won't be foreign. It won't be a foreign concept. So I think that the best thing that a young singer can do is to fall in love with opera.
Hmm, very interesting. I love that. I love that. Good. Second question. What are your thoughts on breathing?
Ooh, yeah. Okay, here we go.
We
So
we need amount to talk
yeah,
about.
exactly. Here we go.
I know.
So okay, how can you start a car without gasoline? How can you run anything without any sort of fuel? I think that the breath is that. It doesn't matter whether or not you have a Ferrari, you can't run it without the gasoline. So the breath is even more important, I believe, than any other part of the vocal mechanism, because without it, no other part works efficiently or effectively. So I believe that the breath is paramount. I think that it needs to be thought of holistically, meaning that the breath, if there is a an issue that a singer is having, chances are it has to do with the breath. And so the ability for us to concentrate primarily on that and how we feel the breath inhaling and through what passageways mimicking the exhaling of the singing. I think that is that's what I think of as the breath. And because we can't see it, I tell my students when they're in the beginning stages to think of it as a color, and they're able to then imagine that color inhaling and that color exhaling. And so um I'll tell them, paint the wall, because the air then can move forward, and if the air is all moving forward, then that means that the vocalism is working efficiently, and it's working effectively.
Wow. Yeah, very interesting. Bravo, Josh.
That's
Bravo, bravo, bravo. I love that. Okay. In short time, you said very important. Yeah, good. Number three, in your opinion, in opera singing a natural act or in opera singing a natural act or does it have to be built up?
both.
Ah,
Can I say both? Is that acceptable? I
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
I
you can say everything
I can say
you
whatever I want. So yes, I think both. Um, we we speak to communicate. Everyone speaks to communicate. So the idea, and we will whisper and we will scream in our lifetime. And so the idea of singing is just developing the finesse of that mechanism and the efficiency of that mechanism, I believe. So anyone that can speak can sing. So is it natural? Yes. Is it unnatural? Yes. So I think that the natural part is the natural ability for air to vibrate the vocal folds and therefore sound to be created. The unnatural part is developing the stamina to withstand the musical requirements of the voice.
Hmm.
So I think that the development of the finesse and of the style and the natural the squillo, the having these things, these are things that are
Squillo, squillo.
developed.
Capisco squillo, bravo.
Ah, perfetto, perfetto. Anch'io capisco il squillo. Allora, lo squillo. So so I think that that is what is natural and what is unnatural about the voice.
Yeah, yeah, wow. Yeah, bravo. I love your replay in a short time. You touch the focus very very soon. Good. But there's a. I want to clarify one thing. You can say everything you want. You don't have to say what you I love to hear or
Oh no, no, I'm
this
saying how I
you're
feel.
in this recording.
Yeah,
I am free to understand and to receive and to get everything uh, come from my guest. Absolutely, you are very 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 free. I
cool.
need that. I need that.
Yeah, well, and I mean, and I appreciate that, and I'm definitely speaking exactly as I feel and as I understand. It's just brevity that
I know you. I know you. For this reason, I called you Pavarotti del Vermont
I
because you are natural, like the genius, like Italian genius Pavarotti. Okay. Uh, Four. What do you recommend to a young student for daily study?
think that they should always be studying. It doesn't mean that they're always singing, but they're always studying. I think that you can do a lot. I would say that the most studying that is done is not vocal, actually. I think it needs to be a lot of musical work. There's a lot of music that needs to be learned. There's diction, there's language, there are interpretive things. Um, and even walking from class to class, you're breathing. And like I said earlier, the breath is the thing. So to be able to be mindful, I think that is the point, is being mindful and intentional about everything that we do. So when I have a conversation, it's not that I'm thinking in a micromanaging thing where, okay, now I'm going to breathe in, now I'm going to apply a poggio, now I'm going to do, but it becomes a natural thing so that even when I talk, I can change from speaking to singing very, very easily.
Uh-huh.
And so to develop um, that naturalizing of the motion, I think, is what I would recommend young singers do every day, is to develop the pathway, develop the mechanism for the voice as opposed to the voice itself, and then make sure that the voice is kept warm. Our friend Pavarotti said, If I don't sing for 3 days, I know it. If I don't sing for a week, the audience knows it. So,
Yeah,
so keeping still going, but I think there's a lot of mind work that should be done.
he was very humble because he could sing, he could quiet for a month and no one perceived his technique. It's
Uh,
very unbelievable.
uh,
Okay, yeah, this is not the next question. This is inside the question.
sure.
You think there is not a timing to practice every day or this in this schedule, or what do you?
I think that I think that what's interesting about it, yes, I mean, I think that you can have a schedule of specific at from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. I'm going to work on this, but I'm afraid, um, I'm afraid that it's more all encompassing than that. Especially as a young singer, I would my students, I find they come into the lesson and they work really hard and they do everything that I ask them to do for an hour, and then they leave and they do the exact opposite. And so, my consideration is that they are maintaining the principles that we're working on together in a lesson. They're working on these outside of class. So it's not just a specific 2 hour lesson or 2 hour time frame where they have to listen to what Josh says, but an all day mindfulness understanding that these principles don't just go away when you're not thinking about it. They happen all the time in conversation and in singing alike. So yes and no, I think.
Thanks, thanks.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Makes absolutely sense. Yeah, thanks.
Cool.
Okay, five. How important is diction to you in opera singing? Diction.
Why would I want to hear a story being told if I couldn't understand it? I don't believe that I wouldn't. I mean, I speak English, and there are people that I can't understand. So and so I think that it is vitally important. And I think that we have to learn diction because there are ways that we speak that are different than how we would sing in a lyrical diction manner. And so I think we have to be really attentive to that and making sure that it's right, but it's all for intelligibility of the story. If it serves the story, if it serves the character, if it gives in whatever language, if it gives the clarity for the listener, then I think it's vitally important. And I think that as much as the breath, it's important.
Thanks. Thanks. Grazie. Molto interessante.
Io
Uh,
sono contento che è
in,
interessante
in
questa
short
cosa.
time, yeah, in short
Yeah.
time. This is unbelievable. Bravo. Okay. Six. And what is the importance of vocal style in opera singing?
Vocal style.
In Italian is a stile vocale.
Yeah, sì, no, lo so. And I think that vocal style goes to history and goes to tradition. And I think in order to fully respect the tradition that we are all entering into, we need to respect the vocal styles that came before it. I think that it is entirely possible for someone to sing the notes, uh, but without having the style and the understanding of the language, the understanding of the composer and the rest of their output, to be able to assimilate um, this information to inform the decisions that you're making. I think style is respect, and I think that it's really important to be able to do that. Um, Now, similarly, I think you have to know the rules in order to break the rules. So if there is a moment that is more, um, let's say, uh, more communicative to a 21st century audience, that wants to happen, and you're creating your own style or your own interpretation, I think there's room for that. But I think that you must know the style that preceded it in order to make your own. You cannot break the rules until you know the rules. So that's I think that's how I feel about style.
Grazie. Good. 7. In your opinion, Josh, should the student listen to recordings of professional singer a lot? If so, why?
Not when first learning a role. I think if you get your big debut as, Alfredo in Traviata, I don't think you should run and listen to recordings. Because what you do is you take on the persona of that person that you're listening to, good, bad, or indifferent. You take on their mannerisms, to the point where I hear auditions and I can be like, oh, I know exactly what recording you listened to. And I think that, so I don't think that that is appropriate. However, I think it's incredibly important to listen to singers that have come before us and singers that are happening now. It's good to know what is happening. And I have to tell you that it's, you call me Pavarotti del Vermont, and I think it's funny, but I listen to Signore Luciano. I listen to him all the time, and I watch him all the time, and especially when he's not having a good night, because it's a masterclass. You watch the mechanism work. You watch this happen, and it's revelatory, because you think, oh, this is technique in action. This is why we focus so hard on this. So I don't think, yes, of course, listen to the greats to hear great operas. Listen to these things to hear gold standard, and I think that's important for students to know. But I also think it's important for us to listen critically, even if it's hard. Even, I think it's important that every time we listen to someone sing, I think it's important to take it as a masterclass and to see what they're doing, not how they're sounding, but what they're doing in order to make the sound.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think, yes, listen, but don't listen to learn. Listen, or role, or an opera, or a piece, but listen to learn the voice.
To expand your knowledge, maybe.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a great way to say it. And the knowledge of how the singers worked. I hate to only speak about tenors, but you watch Pavarotti. Well, I can't help it, but you watch Pavarotti, and then you watch Krauss, and you watch Corelli. You cannot have different.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're watching, and there's no denying that all three of those singers are remarkable singers, but they're all different. Why? That's when we listen.
Good insight. Thank you. This was the 7, yes? Now we have
I think so.
8. Can you tell us what is your method when you start to studying a new aria or opera? It's relating in the last question.
Yeah, in the last one. Okay, so what I do, I'm not a pianist. I wish I were. It's the biggest regret of my life. But what I do as not a pianist is I go to the vocal line and I go to the text. And I start there. And I look at logistics. For me, it's okay. If it's an aria, or if let's say it's a role, it's better to have a role. If I look at a role, I want to know, okay, how much singing is there? Where is there, what is the tessitura for the whole piece? Not the range, because there are going to be, acuti that are there that are not in the normal tessitura, or low, but where does it sit? Where does the role sit? When do I have breaks? When am I not on stage? so I know the stamina that's required. And this is before I'm getting to music. There's no vocal stuff. It's learning about the construction of the opera before I even look at the aria or look at anything like that. And in fact, I go backwards. So I go from the finales, say, or whatever giant ensembles, because there always are, and they're always complicated to put together. Putting those together and then working into the trios or the duets or whatever it is, and finally at the very end looking at the arias, because not that the arias are the easiest part, but as far as learning them, they're the easiest part. And so, really focusing on that, I look at the libretto. I look and I see what.
Sorry, I look
Oh,
in.
sorry, libretto. I look at the libretto and I see what is the story that the composer is wanting to tell, and I ask the question: why did this composer choose this librettist or choose these words? What interested the composer in these words? And why did they feel that these words were so important that they needed to set them to music? And for some, it's just, well, let's just, Rossini is, well, let's just do it. But for a lot of them, it was really studied. For Verdi, it was really studied, and it was, and I think that we have to kind of play detective in this. And all of these things, this is before even singing a note. And so I think that's my method, so that when I get to singing the notes, it comes quickly, because I've done all of the work leading up to the notes. I've done all of the work of understanding and of translating, okay, but of seeing what the story and the arc of the texture of the pieces. And so I think that's my method. And then at the very last bit, will I once I've learned the notes, then I'll ask a wonderful pianist to help me, and so I can hear it in context. But say it's a Britain piece or something that's not, uh, really, I don't know, tonal or 19th century. Um, I look for, especially in what are seemingly difficult vocal lines, I look at the piano or I look at the orchestration and find, where are the consonances? Where can I hook into the modality? Or in Britain's case, where are the dissonances that I can find?
Okay. Actually, you mentioned orchestration. You are learning from the vocal score and full score.
Both.
It's that you
Right.
you said. Okay.
Yeah. I think that because I want to know if that bassoon line is with me, or are they counterpoint with me. I want to know, because the piano vocal score doesn't how can you
Sometimes
cram all of that in?
sometimes they are not accurate, but in somewhere sometimes we can find some
Oh, sure.
score accurate.
But
But
I,
but
especially something that is that's more complicated. I want to know who's my friend in the orchestra that I can listen for, especially in pieces um, that I have to do quickly. I have to learn quickly, and so the ability to learn quickly is the ability to find the connection points. And I think that so, not that it changes, but learning Tosca and learning the Rape of Lucretia or learning, something like that, they're different. It's a different method. Um, and so I think that you need to be more finely attuned to understanding the musical elements and finding where are those connection and pivot points, um, for us. And that's also rhythmically too. I think that it's really important to do that. I was actually just having a conversation today with a colleague friend of mine, who was struggling tremendously with a measure of, I think, is 13/16, and right, and And
13 16th.
13 16ths. And I looked at it and I said, it's just speech. It's just the composer said, I want da 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 da, and it just he wrote, okay, that has 13, you know, syllables, and so he just wrote it like that. So where musicians would go to it and say, how do I divide 13 16ths, and in what configuration? It has nothing to do with that,
Just speak, just to speak.
just the text. So, and so I think that goes back into my thought of understanding why the composer chose the text. Because once I know that the text is what is important in that moment, say for Puccini, who has, two measures of just a repeated note, he's not interested in the music. That's not music. It's just text. And so we have this ability to better understand and to not get lost in the musicality of it,
Yeah.
but understand the holistic part of it.
Good. It's like altro di me non le saprei narrare.
Esatto.
Che la viene fuori d'ora, importunare. Okay, got it. Good.
It's
Good.
I mean, it's not that it's not music, but it's not music.
Yeah.
The importance is on the text in that moment, not on the music. If he had written the aria of L'altro di me non saprei, it wouldn't work. That wouldn't tell the story. She's saying, Mimi is saying in this moment, I don't have anything more to say. Why would she have anything more to say?
Yeah. Good. 9. Can you now? Oh wow. You need a rest. You need a little.
No.
Okay. You are very strong, George. I know you. Can you now explain briefly your principles of vocal technique? Yeah, now we need 6 months, but
Yeah, exactly.
try to condensate in 6 minutes.
Okay. I had a teacher once that said that we knew everything that we needed to know about singing when we were a baby. If you watch a baby, the baby breathes in, the stomach contracts, and the sound goes. And they can cry and cry and cry for hours and hours, and there's no problem, right?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that the baby cry all the time.
No, because you pick them up and you carry them.
Yes.
I know my daughters are really. It's unfortunate. They didn't cry it out because I couldn't do that, but it was interesting when I watched them, because it was amazing to watch their abdomen go and then engage. I mean, you see the actual physicality of this vocal mechanism, which really that's what it is. And so I think that if we spend, so as a baby, we know what we're doing. Just biologically, we know how to do this.
Yeah.
That's the natural part of question whatever it was, right? So if we're talking about that, then what we really are trying to do, so for our entire lives, we are in a society that says, shh, don't talk that loud. Don't do that, right? So we spend the time breaking down all of that history and making it so that we're really just getting out of our own way and quieting that voice, that nagging voice in our head, because naturally we know what we're doing. We know if we take a breath in, and if the muscles, the same muscles that made that baby cry, if those muscles are engaged and that air is moving as freely as when that baby is screaming, then we know that it's efficient. We know that it works. And so I think that concisely as possible, I think that my thoughts on vocal technique is really getting out of our own way. more than anything. Then it's about the once that's done, then it's about the control. And I think that um, there are thoughts and considerations that need to be on exactly how these muscles work and in what capacity and how much force and what specificity they require and exactly how they function in order to arrive at a streamlined breath column of breath, um, and then similarly finding the resonances within the mask and the sinus cavities. Um, but I think ultimately those are kind of nuanced. I think that the big massive leap is getting back to baby crying, and I think that you know babies can be heard from 12 miles away. We can be heard over an orchestra.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Last question. Josh, can you tell us about barn opera and what is its importance for young singers?
I can, and I'm excited to tell you about barn opera. Um, barn opera and its importance to young singers. Um, you said I can say whatever I want. I'm going to say things that are not nice. In that um, there are traditions within especially in the American system of the opera community that I believe take advantage of young singers, and they put them in positions where they are they're asked to do things that are not appropriate, specifically vocally or theatrically or whatever, um, and they are not treated as artists until they get through this. It's like a boot camp. Um, Once you're through that as a young artist, it's not rosy either. We are a lot of times treated as a commodity, and I think it's really disappointing. Um, I've I am fortunate to sing a little bit. I know a lot of people that sing at much higher levels than I do, and they complain about the same thing. So it's pervasive throughout the entirety of the opera industry. The idea that a singer is a worker, not an artist. I think that's problematic. Um, Quickly, uh, and to illustrate the point, I was singing the lead role in a production um, when I was young. I was too young to. Old Josh would say no, 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 but baby Josh said, okay, um, this company. I was the lead in the production. This company had rented out their rehearsal space, and for our first room run of the show, and they moved the room run to a working scene shop. There was sawdust. There was paint fumes. We were all put, and I actually went through some vocal damage with it from this, which is neglect from someone, from this. And before that happened, I went to the artistic director of the company and I said, "This isn't safe. I don't feel safe in this environment. Safe for my livelihood, safe for my person, safe." And I will never, until the day I die, forget what he said to me. He said, I'm not paying you for your opinion. I'm paying you to sing." And and from that moment on, I realized that that's all I was in the industry. And so what knowing that and experiencing these things, I've accumulated from all of my travels, all of the great things that opera companies are doing that are awesome and really, really supportive of singers, and all of the really horrific things that are happening, so that it has taught me what to do and what not to do. And so have these young singers come into an environment that is safe, that they are free to be artistically courageous. They have the support and the mentorship of professionals that are 10 years their senior, and they get an opportunity to experience what it's like in a professional environment, while without the overarching looming threat, of not being hired back, or not anything like that. I'm not suggesting that what we're doing is groundbreaking or earth shattering, but what I'm suggesting that we're doing is what's right. And what's right for these young singers is an opportunity to grow, and not have and grow in a healthy, holistic way, with people who care about them, genuinely care about them, and them as artists, because we'll never have another artist like that person. There's never been another Nicolas Jussi. There's never been another Josh Collier. I don't think the world could handle it, Nicolas, if there were another one of either of us. But I think that there is room for all of these young artists' voices. And if us, our little company up in Brandon, Vermont, in a restored post and beam barn, can be that warm, inviting, nurturing place for young singers, then I could want nothing more from my career. So if I never sang another note, which won't happen, but if I never sang another note, and what I could do for the industry is to allow a space for young artists to grow, and to turn the gear a little bit toward inclusion, toward acceptance of everyone, regardless of who they are and what any of those things, I think I will have done what I needed to.
Thank you. Thank you, Josh. You are doing very great job with Barn Opera.
Thank you.
And oh, we finished this very beautiful meeting. I love your heart, Josh. I love your passion. And yeah, this is very important for your student, for your friend, for your Barn Opera, for our friendship. This is very, I thank you so much for this personality you have. This is very uh, positive, and you inspire maybe the young people, young friend, young student. And yeah, I'm so happy to have a possibility to interview you. And good. And
Thank you.
now we can watch this recording in short time. I don't know when, but very soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And I know you've talked and you get the last word, and you can always have the last word, but I want to say thank you for your mentorship and your friendship to me, and your everything that you've done for the opera world, and what you continue to do. And I'm honored to be a part of this. I'm honored to have been asked to be interviewed, and you know that I can't stop talking. So I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, Josh. It's the same feeling for me. Okay. Okay. I we finished, and this is for our audience. Thank you for watching this video. And this is the 10 question of Operissimae. Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.